Some women don't come into your life to love you, they come to drain you. Like a silent plague, they wrap you in soft words, gentle touches, and broken promises. And you, trusting, mature, generous, never see it coming. Because at this stage in life, the biggest danger isn't being alone, it's choosing wrong. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Some women don't add to your life, they subtract. They don't love, they manipulate. They don't build, they wear you down. And if you can't spot them, you'll end up paying with your peace, your desire, and your dignity. Today I'm going to reveal the 7 clearest signs of a low-value woman. But don't be fooled, the last one is the most brutal. That's where many men fall, without even realizing it. I'm Celia, and if you're ready to stop being easy prey, this video might change the way you see women forever. Have you ever wondered why you end up emotionally drained after talking to a woman who supposedly loves you? Why, instead of feeling supported, you feel guilty, confused, and more alone every day? If that's ever happened to you, chances are you've been dealing with a woman who thrives on drama. And this brings us to the first sign. A low-value woman always plays the victim. No matter what happens, there will always be an excuse, a tear, a story sadder than the last. Nothing is ever her responsibility. There's always an ex who hurt her, a friend who betrayed her, a job that's exploiting her, and you, without realizing it, end up being the hero in a movie you didn't even write. But what starts with empathy, with that noble instinct to protect her, becomes a subtle trap that consumes you. Because this woman doesn't want solutions, she wants attention. And worse, she wants to hand you her guilt. Picture this. She shows up with a tired face, watery eyes, and a trembling voice. She tells you she's broken, that no one understands her, that everyone has abandoned her. You, a man with a strong heart, choose to stand by her. At first, you even feel useful. You feel like you're doing something meaningful, like your presence gives purpose to her pain. But over time, you realize nothing gets better. Every week, there's a new storm, a new enemy, a new wound to heal. And you're always the remedy, or the blame. Because if one day you don't reply fast enough, she gets upset. If you're tired and can't listen to her for hours, she takes offense. If you finally say no, she calls you insensitive. What you're not seeing is that this constant victimhood is a form of control. She doesn't need to yell or raise her voice to manipulate you. All she has to do is make you feel that if you're not available, you're abandoning her. That if you don't carry her pain, you're a bad man. And you, afraid to hurt her, afraid to be seen as the villain, keep giving in. But hear this clearly. A woman who clings to the victim role can never be a true partner. Because victims don't love, they need. And where there's need disguised as love, there's guaranteed burnout. Don't be fooled by tenderness or fragile gestures. Often, behind that endless sadness, there's a mind that's learned to weaponize its own weakness. The question isn't whether you can help her. The real question is, why are you carrying pain that isn't yours? What part of you feels responsible for fixing someone who doesn't want to change? Because a strong man isn't here to be anyone's emotional lifeguard. He's here to share life, not to rescue someone who doesn't want to swim. And if this makes you uncomfortable, good. That discomfort is the sign that something in you is finally waking up. If victimhood is the entry point, what comes next is even more dangerous. Because once you've connected with her pain, she reveals her true tool of control. This brings us to the second key point of this video, using seduction as a bargaining chip. We're not talking about genuine desire here, or that clean mutual attraction that comes from respect and connection. We're talking about a calculated strategy where flirting, silence, measured touches, and subtle hints become pieces in a game you don't control. She doesn't seduce you because she wants to. She seduces you when she needs something. And once she gets it, she pulls away. In practical psychology, this has a clear name: emotional manipulation through variable reward. In other words, she gives you just enough to keep you hooked, then takes it away so you'll chase her. It works like a slot machine. You never know when the reward is coming, but the moment it hits, it fuels your hope. And you keep playing, because you remember that moment she wanted you, hugged you, whispered in your ear. You don't want to lose that, even if it only happens once in a while. And there you are, mature, strong, experienced, reduced to the anxiety of a teenager, waiting for her to decide whether today brings closeness or punishment. You feel confused. You wonder if you did something wrong. You replay your words, your gestures, your silences, as if the problem were yours. But it's not. It's her. She's learned to use desire as emotional bait, not to share it, but to negotiate from a position of power. Stoicism reminds us of something essential. What's within your control, master it. What's not, let it go. True desire is born of freedom, not emotional debt. If you have to earn affection like a prize for good behavior, you're trapped in a childish dynamic. You're being conditioned like a dog doing tricks for a treat. And that, my friend, is not love. It's emotional domestication. A woman who truly desires you doesn't ration it out. She doesn't use it as a tool to get something. She doesn't turn your body or your time into a currency for trade. Desire isn't asked for. It isn't begged for. And if a woman makes you feel like you have to behave to deserve her, then she's not with you because she values you. She's with you because she knows she can manipulate you. Don't mistake flirtation for connection. Don't mistake sensuality for intimacy. And above all, don't mistake interest for strategy. A low-value woman doesn't love you, she measures you. And every move she makes is part of a calculation to keep you close for as long as you're useful. Sooner or later, you'll pay the price. Not just in frustration or wasted time, but with a deep wound. The one that comes from feeling like you're not enough, when in reality, you were too much for someone who never knew how to value you. If a woman plays the victim to trap you and then uses desire as bait, there's something else that seals the emotional grip. Her need to compare herself to other women. This brings us to the third point in this video, and here's where things start to shift. Because when a woman competes with others, instead of inspiring respect, what she's really after isn't your admiration, it's your constant validation. At first, it might seem harmless. A sarcastic comment about how a friend dresses, a mocking laugh when she sees a confident woman, or a joking critique of someone you barely looked at. But if you pay attention, you'll see it's not random, it's a pattern. Because a woman who has to put others down to feel valuable with you doesn't have self-esteem, she has fear. And that fear shows up all the time, relentlessly. The problem is that behavior doesn't just say a lot about her, it starts to shape how you see yourself. Because sooner or later, that judgment she throws at others will be thrown at you. If you don't dress how she wants, if you compliment someone else, if you don't always place her at the very top in everything, she'll make you feel like you're betraying her. But tell me something. Since when is love built on threats disguised as insecurity? The strategy here is simple but powerful. Watch her quietly. Pay attention to how she talks about other women. Does she show respect or does she tear them down? Can she admire without envy? Or can she only shine by dimming everyone else's light? Because a woman who can't coexist with the greatness of others won't be able to handle yours either. Let me say it again. If she needs to step on others to lift herself up, she's not ready to build anything healthy with you. And you're not at a stage in life where you need to educate anyone. You've lived too much to be explaining that respect isn't optional. A high-value woman doesn't need to compete, she connects. She doesn't talk badly about others. She speaks well of herself and proves it. She doesn't fight for attention. She earns it with her presence. She doesn't demand space. She fills it with intelligence, grace, and confidence. And that can't be faked. Here's an example. Imagine you're at a relaxed gathering with friends or family. She sits beside you, and instead of enjoying the moment, she starts criticizing every woman who walks by. One for her outfit, another for her laugh, another for her body. She doesn't say it outright, but she gives you looks, fishing for your approval, like you're the judge in a pageant of insecurities. Do you really want to spend your golden years next to someone who constantly compares herself to the entire world? Because that mindset doesn't just drain you, it poisons everything. Before we go on, take a moment. If this video is helping you see things more clearly than ever before, hit that subscribe button and give it a like. I'd love to know which country you're watching from, And if you're up for it, leave me a comment with this phrase: I won't be fooled anymore, because the toughest lessons are still ahead, and trust me, the last one will change the way you see women forever. If a woman poisons your mind by tearing down other women, she's doing it for one very clear reason. She wants your full attention, not to share it, but to control it. And that need for control becomes obvious in the next stage. This is where many men, even the smartest ones, fall without realizing it. Because the fourth point in this video is, she demands a lot, but gives very little. And that's the most common mistake, thinking that if you give more, eventually she'll give more too. Falling into the mental trap of believing love is like a savings account, where you deposit affection, time, energy, and one day, maybe, you'll get something in return. But that's not how it works, because a low-value woman doesn't understand reciprocity. She thinks she has the right to ask for everything, without offering anything real in return. The danger in this trap is that it comes wrapped in a story that sounds noble. I have to be patient, you tell yourself. She's been through a lot. I'm not like the others. And with that mix of compassion and masculine pride, you become her emotional provider. It doesn't matter what she gives. You keep investing, waiting for a sign. But that sign never comes. And what should be a relationship turns into permanent sacrifice. In practical psychology, this is known as cognitive dissonance caused by emotional overinvestment. In simple terms, you've given so much that your mind refuses to accept you won't get the same in return. You'd rather justify her selfishness than admit you've been wrong. And that denial eats you up inside, because deep down, you know, she's not with you for who you are, but for what you give. And I'm not talking about money, I'm talking about your time, your presence, your constant effort to please her. She expects you to be strong, generous, understanding, romantic. But when you need something, she turns cold, distant, impatient. She can't listen. She can't give you the same, because she was never there to share, only to receive. The saddest part is that many men adapt to this. They learn to ask for little, to be grateful for crumbs, to avoid conflict so they won't make her mad. And that's not love, that's resignation. It's like living in a house where you're the only one fixing, cooking, cleaning, and when you complain, you're told you're overreacting. Can you imagine a life like that? Well, that's exactly what you're living when you give everything and get almost nothing in return. Respect starts with you. If you don't value yourself, she won't either. Because a low-value woman isn't going to wake up one day transformed into a queen. And you're not here to teach or to beg. You're here to share the best of yourself with someone who's also willing to give. And if she's not, then she's not for you. It's that simple and that hard. The road was already starting to twist. But when you reach the point where a woman always needs to be saved from something, you've entered dangerous territory. This is the fifth point in this video, and it's arguably one of the most draining, because what looks like empathy, what you interpret as a noble mission, turns into a vicious cycle that many men don't know how to escape. She's always on the edge of a cliff, and you, being a good man, are always there, ready to rescue her. At first it moves you. She tells you heartbreaking stories, a rough childhood, a toxic relationship, financial troubles, debts, enemies everywhere. It all sounds legit, and you, who've lived enough to tell the difference between an excuse and a real emergency, decide to help. But what you don't see is that the sense of urgency never goes away. One problem ends and another begins. One conflict is solved and a new crisis shows up. She doesn't live, she survives. And without realizing it, you end up living just to hold her chaos together. The problem is, the chaos of an unstable woman never ends. Because she's not looking for peace, she's looking for constant attention. Her pain isn't a phase, it's a strategy. And if you don't wake up in time, you become the provider of her instability. It doesn't matter how many times you save her. She'll always scream that she's drowning, and you, increasingly exhausted, will keep throwing her the lifeline. Until one day, you go under too. And you know what's worse? While you're emotionally drained, she starts to lose respect for you, because the man who's always available, always gives in, always fixes things, stops being a challenge. And in the mind of a low-value woman, a man who isn't a challenge isn't worth it. That's how harsh it is. That's how unfair. Because while you're giving her your best, she's collecting reasons to stop admiring you. The only way out is a radical shift in mindset, and it starts with understanding that you're not here to rescue anyone. Supporting someone is one thing, carrying them is another. And if you want to live with dignity, you have to stop playing the emotional hero. Not out of coldness, not out of selfishness, out of respect. Because when you stop enabling someone else's chaos, you force them to take responsibility for their own life. And if they don't, they weren't looking for a partner. They were looking for a crutch. This doesn't get better with gentle words or more sacrifice. It gets better with boundaries, with a firm presence, with the unshakable decision to stop participating in dramas that don't belong to you. Because when you stand your ground, with strength, with clarity, you don't just regain your peace, you regain your value. Because a man who refuses to be pulled into chaos is a man who commands respect. So if you're stuck in a relationship where you're always the rescuer, ask yourself a brutal but necessary question. Who's going to save me? Because if you fall, if you break, no one's coming to pick you up. Least of all her. If you keep trying to save someone who doesn't want to climb out of the pit, there's only one outcome. She'll drag you down with her. And the worst part is, while you're drowning in her chaos, she won't even notice. Because in her world, you're just there to endure. But if that already sounds bad, what comes next is even worse. We've reached the 6th point in this video, and it's when her mood swings as easily as her wardrobe. Pause for a moment. Picture this. Today you wake up and she's sweet, smiling, affectionate. She makes you feel like everything's fine, like maybe you were just overthinking. But the next day, or even a few hours later, she won't talk. She's distant, upset, mysterious. You ask if something's wrong, and all you get is a cold nothing. But you know something shifted, so you start replaying everything you said, what you did, what you didn't do, as if it's your fault the emotional weather just turned. That's the trap. She doesn't need to yell to throw you off balance. All it takes is that constant swing between warmth and withdrawal, between praise and punishment. It keeps you confused. And when you're confused, you're vulnerable. You can't think clearly. You start relying on her emotional approval, like you have to earn it just to see her smile again. It's like living under a storm cloud, never knowing if it'll rain or the sun will shine. And this isn't just exhausting, it's destructive, because little by little, that emotional roller coaster drains you. You no longer know what to expect, you don't know how to act, and worst of all, you start losing your sense of self. Because when your life revolves around someone else's mood, you stop living your own life. You become just a reflection, a satellite orbiting a woman with no direction. There's something you need to accept, even if it hurts. Emotional stability is a choice, and if she doesn't choose it, it's not your job to balance her chaos. A high-value man doesn't adapt to someone else's storm. He observes it, recognizes it, and walks away. Because a woman who can't control her emotions will end up controlling the life of the man beside her. Do you realize how worn out you've become? You're exhausted, and you don't even know why. You're anxious for no reason. What used to be desire is now just tension. Because when you live with a woman who changes moods like outfits, there is no peace, only anticipation, guilt, frustration, and silence. So much silence. The kind that hurts more than yelling. This kind of woman isn't looking for a relationship. She's looking for a testing ground. And you weren't made to be constantly examined. You're meant to live in peace, with mutual respect. Never forget this. A woman who can't govern herself, can't walk beside anyone, least of all a man who's already paid too high a price just to live in peace. After being trapped in mood swings, painful silences, and mixed signals, it's only natural for your energy to run out. For you to start questioning if something's wrong with you, if maybe you're not enough, if perhaps you deserve that instability, and that's when the final blow hits. We've reached the 7th point in this video, and it's the cruelest of them all. She makes you feel like you're not enough. She doesn't say it outright. She doesn't need to yell. She does it with gestures, with silence, with subtle comparisons. With that "nothing's wrong" that actually says everything. With the compliment she throws at another man right after you opened up your heart. With the way she avoids eye contact when you talk about your goals, your dreams, your past. And the worst part is, by then, you're already emotionally drained. So you start to believe her. You begin to doubt yourself, to feel like maybe you're not as valuable as you thought. That's the deepest wound a low-value woman can inflict on a man, not breaking his heart, but distorting his self-worth, making him believe his maturity is dullness, that his experience is boredom, that his sensitivity is weakness. And that's when you start to shrink. You speak less, ask for less, want less, until one day, without even noticing, you become a shadow of the man you once were. But hear me clearly, no, it's not that you're not enough. It's that she was never capable of seeing what you truly have to offer, because an empty woman can't admire a man full of life. An insecure woman can't hold the gaze of a confident man. And a woman emotionally bankrupt will never appreciate your richness. It's not that you failed, it's that you chose wrong. And here's where everything changes, because respect isn't requested, it's claimed. And you're not at a stage in life where you need to keep asking for permission to be who you are. No more excuses, no more justifications, no more enduring the unbearable. The shift happens when you decide that your peace is worth more than any relationship, that your dignity matters more than her validation, and that your desire is not for sale. You don't need anyone to confirm your worth. You already know who you are. But if you forget that, if you let someone else erase it, then she's not the one to blame. You are. Because you allowed it. And that, my friend, is your responsibility. The good news, you can come back to yourself, back to your strength, back to your desire. Because a woman who makes you feel small doesn't deserve to be near you, not even for one more day. If you've made it to the end of this video, then you've already taken the first step, one that many aren't brave enough to take, facing the truth without filters. Because you didn't come here looking for comfort. You came to hear what no one else dares to say. And now you know, it's not that you're not enough. It's that you've been surrounded by people who don't know how to value a real man. What matters now isn't what you did yesterday. What matters is what you choose to do from this moment on. This isn't easy, it's not comfortable, but it's necessary. Because staying in a relationship where you're used, confused, or dimmed isn't noble. It's a loss. And you're not at a point in life where you can keep losing. You're at the perfect moment to reclaim your desire, your strength, and your dignity. So go to the comments and write this phrase: I choose my partner with wisdom, along with the country you're watching from. That will be your signal that you've woken up, and that you're never going back. I'm Celia, and this is House of Wisdom. This channel exists to say what others won't, to reveal the game hiding behind soft words. We don't talk to you like a child, we speak to you like a man. Because if you have the courage to listen, you also have the power to change. Subscribe now and become part of this community of men who've decided to open their eyes. Share this video with someone you know needs it, even if they haven't said a word. Because sometimes, a single truth can save someone from a lifetime of pain. And don't stop here. Watch one of the 2 videos now appearing on screen. The conversation is just getting started, and what's coming next will change the way you see women and yourself forever.